Welcome back, guys. 2 weeks in the making this video. Unfortunately, old numbnuts here deleted week 1. I've already made the video and I added the second half to it, so it was a 50-60 minute video. Unfortunately, my hard drives are full up and I had to delete some files and I couldn't remember where part 1 of this video had been hidden, so when I deleted everything I deleted part 1. So part 1, we're going to have to reinvent part 1. Part 1 entailed throttle cable and a seat cover and a brief description of how this is all going. So before we go any further, let me give you a quick demonstration of a throttle cable. So there you go, guys, there is a new throttle cable. To fit it, you've got a throttle slider. There's a groove that runs around the outside of that with a hole in the end. The aluminium nipple on the inner cable clips into that, wraps around, threads through, and then you thread it through the framework, clip it in down the bottom here. Same principles involved here, and then you take up your tension on the inner with that. Unfortunately, I ordered the wrong cable on the YBRs. I think it's 2 cables. One for the injection, one for the carburetor. I think the carburetor has a longer inner cable. So I ordered the wrong one, but it does work, but there's a little bit of slap or slop on that. I don't like sloppy throttles. The second part of last week's was the seat. I went to Dunelm and I bought, or the wife got me, a sheet of black PVC. Somebody suggested to me that it needs to be a double stretch. In other words, it stretches that way and that way. Well, I have no idea what this stuff is. I just know it'll work. So now I could have took that upstairs to do the sewing on my sewing machine that I've got up there. I've got an industrial sewing machine, but I just chose, let's try something a little bit different, which I did once before on a moped, and that was get a heater and just heat up the PVC slightly so it's really stretchy, and we'll pull it around the seat frame and rivet it in underneath, and this is the end results. There you go. We used 2 belts, a lady's belt and a man's belt, because underneath here we have a bit of a dip where the foam had rotted, where there was a hole, and I needed to hide that. Although I'm putting my hand under there now and I actually can't find it. It's there it is, it's here. Yeah, it's quite prominent. So that is hiding it all up, and then we use wide-headed rivets underneath just to hold it all together. Now they use staples at the manufacturers. You can buy seat covers for these bikes, so about 25 quid. Don't know how well they're made, don't know if they've used industrial sewing string, I can't remember the name of it, cotton. I really don't know what they do, if it's waxed or anything, so it could rot and fall apart on you, especially if it's come from China. So that's the seat cover done. There you go, don't that look good? Cue the enthusiasm. Wow, don't that look good? There you go, enthusiasm over. I've been looking at this for a week, mate, so I can't give you any more than that at the moment. Sorry, I'm exhausted. Right, what was the other thing we spoke about? Oh, yes, logbook. Now, the logbook. We spoke about that. Now, that's rewind a week. Okay, so this is the beginning of the week. Welcome to the video. Hello. I have got to make application for the logbook. I cannot do that at the moment because it's 25 quid. You can't pay that online apparently to DVLA directly. I have to send a postal order or a check off. Now I'm not doing a postal order because that's going to be about 6 quid on top of 25 quid, and I refuse to pay it just because DVLA can't get their act together. So I have ordered a checkbook from the bank, and I am waiting for that to come through the post. As soon as that comes through the post, I will then fill out a check, which I haven't done in over 10 years, put that in an envelope and post that off. Fast forward 1 week. Right, at 1 week. Trying my best here, guys, really. Right, 1 week later, finally got the checkbook in. Took 7 days to arrive, but I've got it. Filled it out. My wife's giving me some filthy looks at the moment. Anyway, the checkbook is here. I've now filled out the check. I've posted it all off. I'm now waiting for the logbook. As soon as that logbook comes through the post, we can then do a new registration for it, because registrations can't be issued without a logbook present. That's another job coming up in a few weeks' time. But this is the last video on this bike. We've also got to replace that front tyre at some point, because if you look very closely, cracks. That ain't gonna work. So with that in mind, that is week 1 over. That took me 20 minutes last week to do all of that for the video. Well, it took me a whole week, but it was a 20-minute load of footage, and I've just done it in 10 minutes and made myself look like a complete prat in the process. That's gotta be worth a few more subscriptions. So that is where we're at. Now, next week we will tackle, when I say next week, I mean we've already done next week. This is the end of next week. But next week, for the argument of the video, we are going to tackle the fuel tank. You remember that went dramatically wrong on multiple places. Bubbled up, too much lacquer. It was just an absolute mess. We will now redo that. Trust me, this didn't go well at the beginning. You'll enjoy this, I think, week 2. I am getting very impatient. I've been holding off on this paint for the petrol sealer, which still hasn't come, but it is due today. So I thought, after talking to my son online, who's really excited about getting his hands on this, I thought, try and do something a little special on the fuel tank. Now, the original sticker set that you can get for these is 35 quid. I've got a, what do you call it, front tyre to replace, foot pegs, which I've already ordered actually, and I'm still not finished after that with the spend because we've still got MOT, so I can't afford it. So I thought what I'll do, I'll change it up a little bit. I've got some pinstripe tape on there at the moment, that's over the black. I want to get some stickers, YBR 125 stickers, just random letters. I'm going to put them in as well. I've got some bright red paint to paint over the black, so I'm going to go white first, then I'll go red over the top of that. There's a lot of layers going on this, and then after that I'm going to put my spider web net over the top of that, put my burgundy red on, and pray to God it don't react, and then I'm going to leave it at that point because I want to get the petrol sealer in still. And then tomorrow we'll put the rest of the red on, and then we'll get the lacquer on and pretty much go from there. I'm hoping that this tape line will hide the fact that these lines are out completely. I don't think it will work, but I'm hoping. So at the moment I'm just drying off that paint that side for the pinstripe, and then as I say we'll go over it with white and see where we end up after that. Right, the rattle can orange is now on, as you can see, and now I'm going to piddle around with these stickers. I want YBR and then small letter like numbers 125. They're peel-offs, so we've got the capitals and then we've got the smaller numbers next to it. They're not an easy thing to do. I don't know, I really would have liked to have gone that way with it, really, and then 125 under. I think that would have looked better. Should I do that again? I think I should. A bit better, isn't it? Spaced out the YBR a bit more. So what we'll do after this, we'll do the other side, and we'll cut some net out, put some net over the top, a spider web net, and then we'll hit that with some paint, peel the net off, and then take the letters off, let everything else dry. We're going to leave that where it is because that stays on, and then tomorrow, once it's all dried off, we'll then mask up that inside edge, and then we'll hit the rest of the tank with the red in question, and we should have, there you go, the net goes over the top. You need to get it as tight as you can in most places. A little bit slack here to pull out, but get it tight, and then you dust the paint over the top gently, leave it dry, peel it off, take the numbers off, and then tomorrow mask the rest. I'm going to make this brief because the battery's dying. The cherry colour is now over the top. Nothing has separated from what I can work out. I might give it one more hit. I don't know if I need it or not, but if that net moves, I paint over what I've already painted, or what doesn't want to paint on, so to speak. So it's hard to see. The two colours are very difficult. You're not going to get much more out of that battery. There you go. It moved. I knew it would. It's not a problem. I'll let that dry off now, and then later on tonight I'll sand below the black line. We need to smooth that area out because that will show up in the paint. And then tomorrow we'll put the red on, and then we'll lacquer the whole lot, peel the stickers off and lacquer it, and we should have a bright orange 125 YBR on both sides. And that I am hoping is a saving of 36 quid on genuine stickers, and it's got a little bit of custom going on, which I think he'll be over the moon with, possibly. I hope so. Some serious effort gone into that if it works. So far we've had no reaction and no problem, so, but it'll be the lacquer that will be the problem. So we'll leave the heater blowing on that for an hour or two, and then we'll take it indoors and carefully get rid of the stickers and some sandpaper just to rough up that area there where the primer was. This is where it gets delicate because I'm going to be scratching into that paint surface. Okay, 11 o'clock at night and I'm still at it. So far we've had very little in the way of problems, but I've been staring at that pattern behind the tape all night, and it just seems to be missing something. Now Yamaha has a lot of black and white labels on the older stuff. Now I've got a black outline around the outside of that pattern, and I sort of looked at that and I thought, well, maybe I should paint a white outline just below that. So I have done that. It's still very possible to sand that out if it don't work, or paint over it. It's not a massively big deal, but I thought it had to be tried. So yeah, let's peel that sucker back. Right, there you go. Your thoughts? Yes, no? I didn't do a black line there. I've got to just gently rub that back, and I was going to mask up to that edge and then mask over the top of all of that. I've left the pinstripe tape there for that exact reason, so I'll tape onto that, and this time I'll make sure it don't bleed through like it did on there. I've had to sand the bleeds out, but I haven't done a very good job. I can't get rid of it, so it's just going to have to stay. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, I've been sitting here for about, what, half an hour or so, and I put the black in. It's a little bit of bleed over, but that's that masking tape. It's rubbish, and I am actually quite pleased with that, so excuse the background noise. So there you go. Tomorrow we'll get that stuff in it that we spoke about, and then we'll rub down, and then we'll put the metallic red, cherry red, over the top of everything else, and that should look really good. Now that works. I think that works. Amazing, isn't it? So, and sanded back. I've touched in all the black along there just to make up the lines. We lost some areas there that I've had to fill in. I'll let that dry. I'm going to gently sand that back because I want to see that 125, and I want that YBR to pop out. Done the same on this side, sanded it back. I'm going to make a new line, and well, again a little bit of a gentle sand back. I think we'll be good to go, but we are going to need a lot of lacquer on this, a lot of lacquer. So I think the best thing I can do is paint this up, and then lacquer that, leave it, lacquer it again, leave it, sand it, lacquer the whole thing, leave it, and then one more coat of lacquer. So there'll be about 4 coats of lacquer on just that area alone, really. I don't really see there being a lot of choice. This is going to take about a week to do as well because of the drying times. I am not risking messing this up by being impatient. I really am going to ease off. In fact, the 2 layers of I might just do them repetitively, one and then another, and then leave it and sand it after it's cured for a couple of days, and then we'll hit the rest of it. I may not even put the red on, to be honest. Thinking about it, I might peel that off and put that lacquer on today, just to start building it up, maybe. I don't know. I'd like to put the colour on first. I'm still waiting for that petrol sealer. This company that sold it is useless. One thing I'm trying my hardest not to do is to make this look peculiar where he gets laughed at. I have been in that situation before many times, when I was younger, that 125s that I got custom paint jobs doesn't always work. However, a lot of effort has gone into this. Need a mask over that, and I think we're going to look good. So what I want to do next, I'm not happy at the moment, so I want to put another pinstripe where that black line there is to separate all of that area. And after I've done that, I've got some stickers, U's specifically, so I'm going to try and do a Yamaha symbol in the middle of there. That's not going to be so easy, but we'll put the U's in. Right, I've been at it all day, and this is the final layer on this side. What we do next, when I say layer I mean building up the patterns, what we'll do next now is we'll mask off all of this, and we'll get the airbrush with some of this base paint in, and we'll start hovering around that area, covering that over, and hopefully that will ghost it in, which is what I wanted to do. But I can't help feeling, I mean, I have mixed emotions over this. I kind of like it as it is, and once the lacquer go on, it will look quite good, in my opinion, especially when we peel that symbol off. Here we go. That's taking that sharp look out. It's just a little bit too much, wasn't it? Well, I think it was, but that works now. There was a definite change colour there, and when you put the lacquer on, the metallic in that top coat that I've just dumped on that will absolutely pop. Yeah, there we go, guys and girls. Now we've got to get the Japanese writing on. Yeah, quite pleased with that. Best I can get it. I ain't no expert and I ain't no artist, but all things considered, I think that's come out quite good. Let's start the other side tomorrow. We'll do all this all over again. Right, it's Saturday today, and things on this paint are not quite going to plan. The symbol I put in on that side looked like a pair of boobs and a dick. Boobs go down, dick up. On that side, even though I got the symbol spot on, it wasn't centered to the circle, because I didn't put the circle in first, and that's kind of, I was in a hurry and mucked it all up. So I don't want to embarrass the lads, so I've sanded it all out. I've put some primer over the top, and we're gonna start again. Okay. We're not putting... Right, I've spoken to my kid online, and he says he is more than happy and wants the Japanese sunburst effect. I personally was concerned that he wouldn't like it, and secondly, I was worried about him piss take and all that. However, I do know his style, and he's into this sort of stuff. I won't go into detail where or how or why. So what I've done is I will put them back. I'm going to do them differently this time. I'm going to download a picture of the Japanese flag and work it from there. So what I've done is I sprayed white and white on both sides, and while that was still wet, because I ain't got time to wait, I went straight over the top with orange, literally within the next second of spraying the white on, and that seems to have done the trick. There's no bleed through, obviously there's no reaction because the two colours are wet. If one has slightly dried and sprayed the other one on, then that probably might have reacted, but that has not. Yep, that is the time, and I have finally figured out how I'm going to do this sunburst. I know what went wrong the last time, and I didn't see it when I was doing it. And it's this line here. I had the sunburst there, and I had the biggest one, I think, there and there, where those two lines were fighting each other. This time I'm going to put the sun here. I'm going to do a short one there, and a long one there. Blend that line in. Okay, so we're having another bash at this. I'm not sure about this last one. It's sort of, the angle here is fighting the angle there, so I'm thinking maybe I should just square off with a bit of tape. I don't know. It's the same on both sides. It's not quite looking right. If I peel this outer one off, as you can see, it now becomes too wide and too square. And the gap's too big unless I fill in that middle one, but then that gap will be too big, I suppose. Okay, I think that might work now. Yeah, possibly. The angle's still wrong here though. That should get flared out there, I'm sure of it. So what I'll do, I'll just fill that bit in there, make the circle just a little off. Right, I genuinely don't know how this is going to go. But what I've done is I've sprayed some white over the lot, sanded back in between. I've left the darker areas as dark as I can make them, because that's going to represent the background of the tank. And these, the lighter reds and the whites, represent the brighter area of the tank, even though we're ghosting it in. Now the point of putting the white in is because it's so bright, I'm hoping it will give it a sort of a halo effect and will be brighter in between the gaps. And I have no clue if this is going to work. Well, I do not. To confirm, no, I can't do it. There's too much paint on that now. Ah, it's all gone wrong. I want to see the other side. I daren't show you. It's horrendous. I'll show you. Ah, it's really gone. That bloody white paint I used, it's reacted. Too much paint. Oh, that's shit, rubbish, crap. Now I'm going to have to just let this go off. It's going to take a few days for that to happen. And I'm going to have to sand it back. I think we're going to do away with that sunburst. It isn't working. I've been at this a week now, this one job, almost a week. Do you know how much this has become a headache? This poxy tank, from the very first day I started it to current, and it is, oh, anyway, look, I've stripped off, not me personally, I've stripped this down. I've got a little bit of primer work to do because I've gone right down to bare metal in places up there as well. So I've got to re-mask that back up. Unfortunately, I had it too close to the heater, so the tape, the glue on the tape was melted in places, so I've got to retouch up the black. The white, I think we can just about get away with it. Now, he wants to, oh, I'm starting to loathe this job. I think we're going to go across to there with a circle somewhere here, and then we're going to go out with thin ones across there and down. And this is my last attempt at it. I wasn't going to do it, but I sort of keep thinking about, like this is his first bike, so to speak, and he wants that, so I'll do it. But last attempt, I ain't doing it again. If this goes wrong, I'll sand it back, it's going to get red, and that's going to be the end of it. Personally speaking, looking at it now, I think just that alone is more than enough. That looks quite good for what it is, in my opinion. But that's what the lad wants, that's what the lad's going to get. Okay, so I've sanded all the sides down, put some new orange in. I've also put tank sealer inside this as well. Very much needed because there's still a lot of rust in there. What I did is I got a coat hanger and 2 scouring pads, used that as a brush and poured the substance in, and then rubbed, as you know, all the areas where I knew I wouldn't be able to get to with the actual, so in there, down there, up there, I went everywhere with it, as much as I can get. Now don't get me wrong, we all know that this tank sealer stuff is not what it's cracked up to be most of the time, so you can't coat every single inch, especially a tank that is shaped so weirdly as this one. So I am expecting rust to still get down the line, so what I will also do as a secondary fail safe, I will drop a magnet inside there via the bottom so it catches, and when he comes back to me, I hope, for an MOT, I will take the tank off and empty it, check that magnet for rust and remove and then replace, and that's really how I plan to go. If he should break down, and I hope he's sensible enough to get roadside recovery, then we know exactly what the fault will be. Rust. Ideally this tank needs to be replaced, and it needed to be replaced from the very outset, if I'm honest. But if we can resolve the rust issue and he can live with the slightly oddball shape that this thing is, because it couldn't quite match everything up that, you know, on that side, then I'm happy with it if he's happy with it. But if he wants another tank and he wants me to respray it in the same style, I'll be quite happy to do this bit, but I am not doing that bit again. So there you go. So we've got a little bit of work to do on that, because obviously I had sanded some of it back, and like round that number there, 125, I've got to clean up a little bit so you can recognise the letters. But other than that, yeah, I think we're good to go. So okay, I masked off. These are the areas that are going to get the darker paint on. So if you can imagine, this is the sky and the sun's coming up and it's a hazy day and you've got all the little streaks. That's the sky part of the streaks. Best I can come up with. Just need to run some tape down here and around there, and we're just going to dust that. I've decided the best thing to do is just dust it and nothing more. Dust it, heat it, dust it, heat it. Keep those layers as thin as possible. Otherwise I've got a lot of sanding ahead of me. I'm not going to bother spraying up here. When I do the final dusting down there, I will then go over that at the same time. And this time I'm going to go over that a lot lighter than I did before. That way you can see it through. So this right here is the orange, orange, orange and orange. And the orange is there as well, which represents another. And then it finishes there. In fact, don't know why I masked that up for. I really don't know why I masked that up. I might have to pull that off and just see what I've done. It gets confusing because there's so many different lines. Like here, bit of tape across there. What did I do that for? That's now marked up that line. That one's marked up that line. So when you get a knife in there, just cut them out gently. So I didn't spot that till I just spoke about it. I'd have sprayed that. That's how awkward this is. Well, it's the first side down. I've just got the other one to do now. I'm hoping this is going to work, because I don't know. There, make of it as you wish. So, I think we might need to do something about that sun. It needs to be, the circle needs to be a heck of a lot brighter than that, by a long shot. And that white paint's rubbish, I don't want to use it. So where my thinking with this is going is mask off the circle, fill it in with tape, spray the tank, work my magic round there and under and around, and then take that off and then do that last, possibly. So a couple of coats of paint on that bit, but maybe just one small airbrush coat on that, and only one airbrush coat on it. It might be the answer. The airbrush might be really good with it. We might have to phase it in a little bit. It's the best of my thinking anyway. So far, I've masked, I've sanded back, along there and under. I've already done the other side. I'm not unveiling yet, unless I've already shown it, and I don't know, can't remember. So, last night we're going to put the last paint on, and no, into last, because it kind of went wrong on me in places. So I've had to repair it as best as I can. Basically, we had separation in most areas where we had it before, so instead of stripping it back and starting all over again, because I've seriously had enough of this thing now, I just got some paint with a paintbrush and painted in all the cracks. And then this morning I've sanded it back. I had a few round there on one of the other sides. I can't remember if it was this one or the other one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the airbrush now. I'm going to attempt to just gently airbrush in those areas. Now if this fails to work, which I'm expecting it to, I think at this point we're just going to paint over the whole flipping lot. And that's the end of it, because I think we've wasted enough time on this damn thing. As paint jobs go, that is not very good at all. I'll be the first to admit it. But I think we dodged a bullet. I didn't want to have to start this all over again. I'm not happy with it, but I'm not doing it again. I've seriously had enough. All I can say is wait till the lacquer go on, and then we'll make judgment on it. By which time it definitely will be too late. But we've got something that's more overpowering to look at. I mean, this will take the eye away from that. But we've also got Japanese writing to put along there on both sides. So let's peel this off, because we've got to repair all the black. It's faded, we've had to sand, and like here I've got to fill in those lines a little bit, and we've got to get that off. Actually we've got two to get right. I need a knife. Well, epoxy airbrush is just bloody broke, and I noticed when I taped up to do the black, I picked off some paint with a flipping masking tape by mistake, so I had to, well, I was going to airbrush it, but the airbrush is just, bloody Clark stuff is just rubbish, isn't it? Clark and Draper, it's just rubbish. So, I had to use the air gun. And I forgot that I hadn't taped up to that edge, because I was only going to dust over that area with the, oh yeah, I've had enough of this bloody tank. So I'll just clean up the other side. The black and the white on the other side. I think it's more white on the other side than it is black, and that's my nightmare colour with this white. Oh great, we've got a bloody spill there as well. Epoxy air gun. That, ugh. Okay, that's it, that's the paint done. I don't think there's any more need doing to it, I hope. I have the Japanese Yamaha hand painted on. I'll give it a little gentle rub down once that's all dried off. Bloody range, I tell you. It's supposed to be water paint, but somebody switched to tubes and that's oil, and it was a nightmare because it very nearly got stuck on there permanently because I had to rub one out. As for a bit smaller that side, and that one's a lot larger. But I'm not redoing anything. That's pretty good going at the moment. You got the sun very, very, very subtly in the background. You can barely see it, but I know when the sun beams on the tank, that will show up. You've got the YBR125. You've got the RD style racing stripe. I remember the old RDs of the 70s had those, but I've done it in a YB style. Then you've got the netting that goes over the top of the red, and then that you paint on that top coat over the top, and that leaves you with the net pattern behind. But it's deceptive, because here it looks like it's really dark, but when you turn the cameras around on it, it's, well, I don't know if you're getting that effect, but yeah. So we've got a wire brush in here, get rid of all the paint because that's just going to soak away with the petrol, and wire brush along the top here, mask that off, and then we can start putting the 2K lacquer, and it has to be 2K because the automotive stuff that you get in the shops, it's not resistant to petrol. This stuff isn't that great with petrol. It needs a few months to go off, well, a few weeks at least, for it to properly go hard. So we'll paint it, we'll put the fuel in, we'll run it, and then we'll move on to the next job, which is the foot pegs. Well, I finally arrived. Round hole, square peg. I have got to get a mallet to whack them on with. Right, go, there's one on. Now I've got to do the other. Oh yeah, it's getting there. So what we've got left? Well, I've got some issues with that front wheel. because the fork, just something not right there. We've got to sort that out. But I thought to myself, I'll deal with that when I deal with the front tyre. So we just got to lacquer the tank up, really. Lacquer the tank up, put all those components back on, fix one side panel because we've got a little clip that needs sorting out, and this with the front tyre, this is finished. No more videos of it. I'll put a number plate on it. I'm waiting for the logbook to come through the door. Once I get logbook, I'll get that number plate ordered and book it in for an MOT. Anything else? Really nerve-wracking. There's bits flying everywhere, but there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the nature of the working conditions. Oh, I hope there's no runs. That's the first coat. That might be the only coat, because you're wrinkled up here due to the way the paint went on, and that's the area I want the smoothest, so that's obviously the area that's got to get the most paint. So I've doubled up that side, but I haven't that side because I can only dry one side at a time. So, oh yeah, looking good, isn't it? Side, but I actually do have a run on somewhere around here where I've gone a little bit heavy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build that paint layer up a little higher where that run is when it's gone tacky, and then once it's fully dry, like 2 weeks time, I'll then run a buffer polisher over that with a little bit of wet and dry to take that out, and then try and polish that out if I can, because I really don't want to be, what I don't want to be doing right this minute is leaving it for 2 days, sanding it out and then putting some fresh lacquer over and then watching the whole lot bubble up, because that is what will happen. Now my rotten luck, there's a few, I've added more to that area at the risk of a secondary run, but look, we're going to have to sand that back gently, very gently, which is why I built that area up a little bit higher, because I know I'm going to rub further than I should. We only need to take that run out so we can put sandpaper over the top, and then I've got a polisher, we can polish it, or if a few days have gone by or even a few weeks, we can take it off. We can give that whole tank a sanding, and we can give it one more final coat, which to be fair it could do with and probably will need. So we're not over with it yet, but you get the idea. So when this is dried off and with all the dust on it still, probably wouldn't hurt to do a sanding and then one more coat, but it's going to need a few days to dry. Cool. I did get ambitious down there, didn't I? Well, that orange peely surface is gone. That's really good lacquer, good quality lacquer there. It's 2K and it should be reasonably petrol resistant. We have got to go over one more time just for the dust issue, so I put my finger on the bloody thing as well. So now it's got, I think I'm like it is somewhere, I can't find it, but it ain't no big deal. We'll get some very smooth flour paper, go over that, and we'll get rid of that run. We can do one more coat and we'll do that in about a week's time. Look, it's roughly put together, it's not fully put together. I need to finish this video, and I know the engine runs. You saw the state of this when it came in. Literally, hedge find is where I found it, rusted up. So it is finished. However, I've got some repairs to do because I managed to scratch the bloody side panels getting the tank on, and unfortunately, since looking closer to this, I've noticed that there's a lot of surface scratches in the sandpaper. I'm not happy about that. A couple of runs I've got to sand out. What I might do is put a bit of red paint with a lacquer and spray that bit first and then clear the rest, just to try and hide those. But that's another day, and that's not another video, because this is the last one now. I just wanted to show you the beauty of this, because I am, even with the scratches, I don't care. It really looks good. It's really nice. The pity it wasn't a bigger CC version of this, really, isn't it? Because the tank would make a lot of sense if it was. So there you go. Absolutely stunning. It really is. Despite everything. What did we do? Well, if you go back to video 1, you'll know that, we've reupholstered the seat. We have given her a complete respray, be it not great, but it is a respray, and it does look better than it did before. We have wire brushed the frame, and we've painted that. We have repaired a massive rust hole in the swing arm with thicker steel than was made with the swing arm originally. We've serviced the front brake, we've serviced the rear brake, we've serviced the injectors, we've put a new pump, we've put a new throttle cable on. What else have we done? What's left to do? Right, okay, that's simple. We need a new front tyre. We've got to get the headlight working and the tail light working properly. I am waiting for the logbook to come through the post, and as soon as that has come through the post, we'll order a new number plate. And then when that's done, January I reckon, because I can't see him doing his CBT before then. I hope he does, but I don't think he will. We will put this in for an MOT. But that's like this: if he hasn't done his CBT by February, he better make haste, because I'm liking this a lot. I will jump on this myself. I've refrained from doing so at this point in time, but that's, yeah, I like it. So I hope he pulls his finger out. I know he's a very, very busy bloke. There's a lot going on in his life at the moment, but the CBT is just one day. I think he can spread his time out for one day. Well, I hope he can. So there you go, my boy. There is your bike, almost in brand new condition. Obviously, I've got a few more things to do, which I'll be doing off camera. I've got a big old run that runs across there. I've got one there, a couple on the other side. The lacquer's not smooth enough yet around this area. I want that mirror when I'm finished. I've got to repair the side panel because I'm a clumsy git and I managed to wreck it. So I've got to sand that out and re-lacquer that. I would like to buy some Yamaha stickers for the side panels, even though I have Yamaha in Japan written on top. And I've got to take the indicators apart, clean them all up, even though they work. Well, they did last time I turned them on. There you go. There we go. I think we've got a horn, haven't we? Yep. And we've got that still. So a lot of this is... Do you mind?
Sorry, honey.
Anyway, that's the bike. Finally finished. Thank you so much for viewing. Don't go away yet though, there's more coming. Thank you so much for watching the build of this. I hope this has entertained you. Right. We have done a few changes to the channel. I have changed the channel name. I was going to do this a few months ago anyway, because Adventures with Motive wasn't really working for what I do. It wasn't describing oil, grease, grit, crap and all the rest of it. And I decided, I was advised actually, because my channel name is very similar to another channel in America, and the owner of that channel has got himself into a lot of, well, he's in some deep doo-doo, let's put it like that. And I don't want my channel being cross-referenced with his. So therefore, I've now changed the channel name. We are the Rusty Road to Greasy Gold. Damn, that's going to take some getting used to, that one. And I think that's more appropriate for what we do anyway. So it, you know, you see the title, it describes this guy messes around with rusty crap, basically. So that explanation is now over. That channel name, if it improves the ratings, I hope it will eventually, is as far as we go with name changing on that. Now, next jobs. There's one more video coming out before Christmas gets here, and it's this. I'm going to do a strip down next. I was hoping to buy a wire and loom and ignition switch, but we know we can get them anyway, so it's not an issue at this point in time. So what I want to do is strip it all down, stack it all up over the back there somewhere out of the way. I'll probably put some hooks up and hang it all up. And I want to start cleaning up going through part lists as well, getting spacers, because I think I'm a spacer missing at the back. So I want to start getting all the missing parts. I want to clean the wheels up, get them all painted up. I want the frame painted up. We've already done the handlebars. I want to get that mudguard filled and painted and the light brackets all wired in with wires, and I just generally want to make a start on that. But the big job, this is for the video, is I'm planning to put the spare engine on the bench, which is over here, because I believe this has been worked on. I want to see what's left for starters and if there's an engine worth salvaging. However, after watching the bike show, there's a possibility this had been converted into a drag bike, because the foot pegs were at the back, right here. They were right here somewhere. And that seating position, where your arse is there, your head is up here, your legs go there, and like that. That tells me that might have been a drag bike, possibly. I'm not 100%. I did have rear suspension, and it was an A-frame suspension, which I can't find. He couldn't find that, and the spring went through the back. The frame had been modified badly, I might add, for that. So that's what I want to do this for the remainder of this. So there's one more video, because I am having a long break over the Christmas period, because I've seriously, that's been hard work doing these videos, and as much as I enjoy doing them, the subscription levels that I've got are terrible. So I'm going to do one last video this year of this. Next year, if my Christmas goes the way I'm hoping, my family are chipping in for a Milwaukee impact gun, which I desperately need. And we're going to get those wheels off that lorry, and we're going to get back to the lorry. We're going to try and get all of that lorry MOT prepped. We will eventually come back to the old ratty, but the lorry has to take priority. It's been out the front long enough. And I found a Midland 180 where the front end of that 180 is in immaculate condition. All the rubbers are in good, like brand new almost, like the whole thing had just been recently serviced. So we're going to do a tool review, and then we're going to try and sort out all of the front end. So we're going to tip cab, and we're going to get all of those little unions and joints and everything taken off. I might even just take the whole radial axle off and switch it over. So that is going to be one of the priorities for next year, early next year. And then we're going to try and get this in for a MOT. Then we're going to build a motorcycle rack at the back, because we need one of them, and I want to get that panel fixed, and I want to get these lights readdressed, because all these lights are 12 volt and we really need 24 volt. I'm running little power converters everywhere, and that's not going to work. They need to go. I'm actually hoping that all these little side lamps that were given to me are actually 24 volt and 12 volt. I was told they were 12 volt only, but I'm hoping that they are 24. If they are not, I may tear them all off and replace them with proper 24 volts, so I don't have to have all of these irritating little power converters everywhere, because you have to keep flicking switches on and off, otherwise they stay on and they run the batteries down. So, and then also one of the other jobs I want to do is to remove the doors, remove the corner panels, spray them up red, sand the rest of the white down, and get this down somewhere where I can get some red paint sprayed on. So we've got all of that coming up for next year. Then we've got to make our minds up to what we are doing with the interior, because I ripped out all the seating area, and I ripped it all out because I couldn't make my mind up what we were doing about the slide outs, and I still don't know what I'm doing about the slide outs. Speaking to the wife about it, and we both came to a conclusion, because we don't have our dogs anymore, our beautiful dogs, which is partly the reason why I was trying to get as much room in here as possible, because my Alsatian was a big old dog. The slide outs would have been useful. We don't have them anymore, and these slide outs have actually increased the weight by easily a quarter of what is actually in here, and we are debating at the moment whether to yank out the slide out. So if we do, we are going to cut these walls and ceiling and floors out, slide the slide out, knock all the metal out on the floor, slide the slide out back in again like I did on the back panel, screw angle iron all the way around, angle alley, sorry, all the way around, and then that'll be permanently fixed into place, can't leak, and then we'll put a new seating area in, which will probably be a sofa of some description with a table. And then that also means that this bathroom area is going to get ripped out, which is a shame because this came out really good and cost close to 200 quid to put together as well. But it didn't work, and it ain't working, is it? So we may very well tear this bathroom out. So the new door to the bath shower will be over here. So we're going to get a new shower tray, and we're going to try and reduce this width in shape, because it's a full size, but it's ridiculous. It doesn't need to be. As much as it's nice, it don't need to be. So we're going to have a small wardrobe probably over here, because it's required. So that gap there will be a wardrobe, and then we can get rid of that wardrobe, and we can then move everything straight over. So an angle here, and maybe a door here, and stop just before the window, which is there. So to about here we stop, so we're left with a gap there, and then that means I can put a wood burner in then permanently, which would be really nice, because that means that winter holidays would be great. We can go on holiday in the winter, we can find a campsite that's open, we can do some winter exploring on the exploring channel, or the Urbex channel that I have, that hasn't really had a lot of interaction over the last few years. We've still got our double bed to build up top, and we've got to rework this back end into a dinette. So this will all get ripped out as well, probably move that over to there, to be honest, and we'll build a dinette at the back that can convert into a double bed as well. So this could potentially sleep 4 people. Haven't made my mind up yet whether those doors are staying. Keep debating about taking them down. Could take a lot of space up, but it'd be nice to sit here at a table. Wife's in bed, I'm down here doing the video. The next video I can pull the doors to, have all the windows open, so I've got a nice breeze coming in a hot summer, and she won't hear much about what's going on, hopefully, because the doors are shut. That's the plan on that. Then there's the bike test that we spoke about. This is also for next year. A lot going on, a hell of a lot going on. We've got 3 bikes that we've got to sort out. So we do the engine this year on the CB, but next year we put our plans together over that period, and we have to have one of them on the road ready to ride. Well, the one bike that's the closest for that isn't that. We have our little moped here, but we also have the Victory. So we're going to put the Victory on the road, so we're going to clean this up as well. That's another video for next year. We're going to put the original pipes back on that the manufacturers came, and we're going to clean up all the rusty powder coat, probably respray the tank. We're definitely going to respray the rear mudguard, because that had a collision at some point. And we're going to go give it a good service, and we're going to put that in for an MOT. We've got fork seal covers, which I already have up there, to put on. I also want to get this MOT'd and serviced, so we've got something small to put on the back of the lorry. But the one that I'm riding the most is going to be this, so we will need to finish this off, and I'm hoping it ain't going to be too aggravating. The problem is, it's the lack of money. Everything is so expensive at the moment, as you guys could probably appreciate. So things like the fuel tank, I'm still going to have to keep looking second hand. I've been buying a lot of second hand for this, but even second hand is super expensive. I mean, God, you wouldn't believe the prices some of these people are asking for rubbish. It's ridiculous. So as long as we can get this running and we can build it up cheaply, then I'm happy, because all I need for this is a set of forks, fuel tank, seat, wiring loom, because I'm replacing that. Dave Silvers does a replica wiring loom for these really cheaply, and the ignition switch and the wiring loom, well, yeah, the ignition switch and wiring loom comes in at 100 quid. That's cheap in my opinion. So we don't need to do any more to that wiring loom. There's too many faux going on. I mean, look at that, for example, that bit of wire there. Someone's already been into this loom. This is insulating tape. That's not the original tape. That's insulating tape. Now the looms would have been made with a non-sticky tape that would have been wrapped around it, and then they'd have taped the ends off. That isn't. That's all insulating tape throughout the whole loom. It's been tampered with. I don't know where. I don't know what. I dare not use it. I also want to make this electronic ignition as well. There is an electronic ignition kit for these that will make this far more reliable. So yeah, we've got wheels, we can clean those up. I need to replace the forks. I'm looking for tri-bike forks for this. I'm not hacking the frame about, that's staying standard as you see it. There are panniers going on the back, no top box, but there will be a luggage rack if I can fit one on, bearing in mind that the mudguard is way shorter than it should be. I mean, that should be, normally that would be here. And the luggage rack would be about there. So we've got to make something to go over the top so we can put crap on there. We are definitely putting frames on here which will be connected to the rear and the side, so I can put bags on. We're definitely doing that. So guys and girls, that is what we have coming up next year. The rat rod also will be looked at, but that won't be looked at in such great detail. I need the truck fixed because I need to get it off-road. Hang on a minute, bear with me. The rat rod, as you see, poor little sad thing, it's kind of like this. When the car out the front is knackered and I can't get it for another MOT, this will be worked on. I keep debating whether to look for a lorry diesel or a Land Rover diesel to put in this, because it'll make it more economical and a little bit easier to drive. And then I can take the V8 and put that in the old trike frame up top garden, because that old BMW engine's not in the greatest of condition. And I don't really want to work on it, to be honest, because it's got enough to do. So we've got this to figure out. We've still got the windscreens to do. I'm actually thinking about building a metal frame that welds in flat, so I can put flat glass in. I've already started hammering the lip, and I do believe it is a possibility to do, but it does mean that I'm going to have to use thin angle iron, and it ain't going to look pretty, but it'll work. And then we can put flat glass in there then, which means we can then make up another frame to go over the top of that frame. And well, I know what I'm talking about, it will be better. I spoke to the glass engineer. Why did my glass crack? And he said it was the extreme heat, and when I cut it I splintered it all the way down the centre, but it didn't crack, it just splintered. And then when I glued it in place, as the temperature dropped during the night, where those splinters were, that's how the crack went across. Now I have bought some tools to cut that glass where it won't splinter, hopefully, and I can sand the edges down. But if I make that a flat screen car, I can actually order the glass ready-made, laminated, really cheaply, which is what I'm going to look into. The downside is it doesn't come with E-numbers, so it could be a problem come MOT time, but we'll see. That's what we've got planned for this. Once we've got that glass sorted out, we can get the scuttle done, we can get the edges of the bonnet done, we can get the wings done, and if I do a diesel, then I will motorhome this thing, because I will take this whole back end off and build a box that bolts to the back with an overhead. And then we won't need the lorry, will we? Because this will do everything that lorry can, but smaller. So, with that in mind, thank you very much for the views. Thank you very much for the comments. And I'll see you on the next video, which should be the CB550. Bye-bye.